everyone. My name is Kateryna. I'm extremely happy to be here as your speaker today and extremely happy that we talk one of my favorite topics through about speed up microservice setup with your e-commerce ecosystem. And first of all, when we start in, let's get to know each other closely. So I'm Java consultant at Valtech. Also, I'm Women Techmaker ambassador, mentor in the Google Students community, and tech writer at Bildung. My main background is a backend, Java plus DevOps. I was previously also a capability pool consultant, and you can treat it as a firefighter mode across the company. So whenever there is some issue with ecosystem, I was there to help my folks. And later, I was assigned to platform team where we set it up ecosystem from scratch for a client. When I'm telling actually about ecosystem, it means that we developed libraries for internal use, architectural decisions, snippets, and etc. etc. So within this presentation, I will share with you some pitfalls we face, some tasks we overcome, and of course, some tips and tricks you can use for your own good. So let's start with it. And it's my favorite picture ever about how to integrate microservice into ecosystem, because whenever we have the task from business, some functionality that requires microservice in place, it's always stressful. Why? Because microservice means that you need to create a GitHub repository, you need to prepare the CI/CD process, set up a secrets, and most importantly, talk with people who can grant you access to the secrets. So it's never easy. And frankly, when somebody asks about estimation of such a task, what would you say? Well, previously I said it feels like a week for all team to do. But for now, we have even better solution that we manage with our team to do on. So one day we sat around and said like, hey, we're doing it 100 times per different project. Why we can automate it? So that's the point when we become to fantasize. And we fantasized about a perfect world where we have a magic button you can press on and have all your microservice run and up in your cloud within a minute. Sounds awesome, like, okay, but is it actually doable? Spoiler, yes, it is. And let's look closely on how we can do so. So within this presentation, we will quickly jump through 3 stages as our team did. So first of all, we will talk through the problem. Then I will show you concepts that help us to overcome it. And of course, in the end, I will show you a little script on how you may adapt these things to your own needs. So whenever we starting to talk about the solutioning, first of all, we need to prepare some requirements, especially business requirements, because whenever you have a clear anamnesis for the task, it's like 50% done or even more. So what I, as developer, want from Magic Button? I want this button to be pressed and get fully working microservice in cloud, as I said. But what I expect this microservice to have in it? I expect some common integrations like DB, message broker, etc. Also, I expect some manifest file for cloud sources to be created. And of course, last but not least, the build, fed integration test, and macro test deployment for all the stuff. So we need a fully working pipeline up and running from scratch too. So of course, we faced with challenging because this task is broad, okay? And one of the most big here challenges is architecture, because not all the services allow us to do such a simplification as a code generation, because it needs to have like common pattern within through microservices for all ecosystem. So that's where we use composable and Mach approach architecture. For code-based problems, we decided to use blueprints and archetypes. I will show you later on too. And of course, CI/CD and cloud sources, we used shared workflows and infrastructure as code to overcome challenges with preparing the common base of the CI/CD pipelines for all teams to use. So let's get to the business and go through the concepts here. And first would be the composable approach, because it's kind of architectural thing. And well, composable architecture is not something new in the world of e-commerce. It's something that became well known and best practice. But whenever I refer to the composable architecture, what I mean? I mean that our microservices should be treated as a Lego. So they could be like different shapes, different like sizes maybe, different colors, but they should have a common linking point. So APIs that they connect it through, and they should be completely independent from each other so we can build whenever we want from them. So there's a criteria from composable architecture for us. And here is a short checklist how to check if your architecture is composable. Maybe it is and you just don't know about this. So first of all, you use infrastructure as application. Secondly, you use infrastructure automation such as infrastructure code, for example. And you use like some containerized approach like Kubernetes or plain Docker, I don't know. So if your application could possibly run in different clouds, you are okay. So you're already using composable approach. But it's rather, like composable, it's a philosophy. It's a big thing that you should narrow sometimes. So that's why we use MAH. And so please don't be scared of this abbreviation because it's pretty simple and you already know almost all of it. So M stands for microservices. We all know what it means. A stands for API first, and it basically means that we have a functionality exposed through APIs. C is cloud native, and headless is mostly related from frontend, so we'll leave it here because we don't talk about this for now, but it means that frontend decoupled from our backend and framework and languages. And here you can see the example of MAH architecture, and it's pretty shared within the different services. So what you have a front end, then you have API layer, and you have some microservices on backend that communicate through internal ingress or, for example, service mesh. So it's already MAH. And here we have our toxic cat. We'll ask our questions and maybe challenge my concepts. So one may ask, what's the benefit? Okay, benefit, why we're talking about composable, is because we need isolated and independent component for a system to functionate. And more even importantly, when we want to create generation of code, we need common structure. And composable is the thing and philosophy that provides us this common structure within all microservices that will help us then generalize it all. Next, what we do, we will address the concept for architecture and CI/CD. And as I said, we have here archetypes. Archetypes, it's quite common thing. It's shared between a lot of languages. Basically, what I mean here is that the tool that has three components. First of all, it's source code that should be anonymized. Secondly, it's descriptor. And third, it's some plugin. For example, in our case, it was Maven because we use Java. But for NPM-related languages, you can use NPM wrapper or something so how it looks like, you can see here example for Java code. So basically you need to create source code that would be anonymized with placeholders variables. Then you will use these variables inside of the XML element that you define all of this one by one. So here you may see all these variables set up that will be used later in CI/CD tool. And the last thing, you need to provide the folders that would be used as a generation source. So in the end, you will just run this simple command and it's all. After that, your teams will have a completely generated service with set up variables and etc. So it looks cool. Why it may look a little bit overcomplicated and unnecessary, but with the right template, you can not only generate the code base, but you also can generate workflows files like YAML, CI/CD pipeline, etc. And you also can create a manifest files in it. Plus to it, it's easier to maintain some standards across the company when you have a single source of truth. Like, for example, you wanted to change some method for security, and now you not support some other stuff. So here you can enforce a policy, enforce the namespaces, enforce the naming strategies, and etc. So it's quite beneficial. And the second concept that you can use here is like shared workflows. Shared workflows is a point where you can decouple your CI/CD from each time creating new build pipeline for different teams. It basically allows you to refer one pipeline from another pipeline. It's a concept within a GitHub, but GitLab has their own shared workflows that you always may reuse. So here, for example, you can define the deployment pipeline once within your organization, and then all other teams can just refer to it with deploy up YAML, for example, version 1. So now you will reuse it all over organization with your teams. Why it's good? Because you avoid duplication completely. Now your teams can reuse already tested and already worked workflows, so you're not estimating it as additional task for the teams. They can just reuse simply what we have. Also, plus to that, you can integrate the open source principles into the e-commerce, and we always miss it, actually, like this vibe into the community. And whenever somebody needs some extra functionality, they can develop it, support it, and other team can use it. So it's like evolving project by itself. And also you can easily maintain these branches in one state. So it's always better for like enforcing the code standards inside of your communication and inside of your organization. And there may be last but not least of the abstract concepts here is you're actually using blueprints. So what blueprint mean? It actually means that you have your internal Stack Overflow, where you define all possible integrations, all possible code snippets, and etc. For example, you already predefine and developed the integration for RDS if you use AWS, for example, and then other teams can just copy it and change some business logic, and it's it. So you are using something predefined, and it's quite convenient. And you see, even Toxic Cat is good with Stack Overflow, so we are good here too. And here, for example, I can show you, it's a little bit complicated, but please don't worry, it's okay. So here is example how in actual commerce architecture this stuff will work. Let's look in it step by step. So first step for us, it would be having Maven archetype. Maven archetype will consist of all our generated classes. This Maven archetype will be connected to the blueprint element where you have the defined structure, for example, for DynamoDB, for RDS, for caching concept, etc. Also, you have there some Kubernetes file and workflows generation. After pressing this command, you will have this nice folder structure for your service. You see we have all defined config maps and etc. inside of our folder already created. Next step would be published to GitHub, and then where magic begins. Because thanks to the Docker, Helm, and Kubernetes combo, you can generate depending on environment which element you wanted to use. For example, you want to use manifest for dev environment, you put this variable inside of it, and then Helm do the work for you. For now, unfortunately, I can't show you code snippets, but in the end of presentation, you will have a reference for the GitHub repository where you can check it all by yourself and understand it more deeply. You also can see it on the slide, the example, how it looks here, the full workflows that we can design with such approach. So remember that all of this is not defined by a team itself. You're just reusing what the platform, what the ecosystem prepared for you. And it's awesome. So you have such a nice pipeline already for you on the start of microservice project. So for now, it's time for some short magic that I will show you right now. And basically what I want to show you is the some code snippets and projects that I developed for fun, like one of the variants for code e-combinator. You will review it later on the steps. So let's check out how it should work. First of all, to simplify our understanding, we will divide everything into the three stages. First of all is config repos, next is Terraform orchestrator, and last one is cloud provider. Simple. So here we even don't need some wrapper like Maven to work on. So how it will look like? Imagine that we wanted to generate some code with our new orchestrator. What we will do, we will create three repositories where we will store, first of all, GCP configuration. Second repository will store our code snippets and etc. So it would be our internal Stack Overflow. And last would be like CI/CD setup. So we will have three repositories, three templates that we will use. Then we will prepare the main actor here, Terraform CLI tool that will build everything. I will show you how later. And in the end, we will import the configuration from local source and publish it on GitHub. So pretty basic workflow. Let's look closely how it should do. So the highlights here that you need to understand firstly before we look into code is that deployment configuration stored separately. And it's important that other repositories, for example, repository for GCP, know nothing about the code snippets on HTML or, for example, some front-end stuff. So they're completely independent, like our Legos. Next point is that our abstract microservice repository also know nothing about these cloud configurations, and main workflow is stored on different CI/CD, for example, like GitHub Action, GitHub, and GitLab, etc. And last but not least, we have our generating tool. For now, I use simple Terraform and CLI commands, but it can be fine with other elements like Maven, as I said, or NPM wrapper. So let's get deeper into the presentation and actual formatting. So here our eCombinator tool. It consists from Python elements, some Go language, and of course some Bash scripts. What it will do? It will do the following. First of all, we will provide the configuration for our project and publish it for the GCP. So here you see the configurations that we provide here. We provide the project name, we provide the repository we want to be generated, we provide some version control information such as tokens and etc. Next step would be for us to call the command and generate all from Terraform. You can see here Terraform is defined on a step of the repository. So when we look in further, the repository got generated, and you can see here how it looks on and the GitHub actions that we prepared within this workflow. It's only one and it's pretty basic, but for demo purposes, it should be enough. Also, you can see that all the secrets are created automatically, so you can review them and save them for later. It's always important whenever you do ecosystem stuff that you have granted accesses, and that's why this approach simplifies everything in like 100 times, because you don't need to wait for every access getting granted, because you have a service account that you can publish easily. So let's move further. You see now the build is passing. Well, let's wait a bit while our configuration will be done. In meantime, you see I'm showing here the reference to the actual configuration. You can see here is examples on how the CI/CD tool can be configured. So it's just like minor thing, you can check it later. And also the repository for our actual contribution system and etc. So let's wait a bit. Yeah, pipeline is completely passed, look good. So now we have our system in Google Cloud bucket. For simplicity, we decided to not add load balancer here for now, because it will take some time to like deploy. And now you see we have completely fully generated microservice with some pretty basic functionality, yes, but it was extremely quick. And it was even less than a minute here. Yeah, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. So for a repository like with bigger templates, it may be longer, but still it will works. So how you may apply this approach, what you need to create, and etc. This approach can be used to actually speed up your process. It could be used for deep dive into composing, CI/CD concept, and etc. It also can allow you to make your daily developer life extremely easier. On this slide, you can see 2 QR code links. You can use them. This first one is for GitHub project. You can like look deep in how it works with CI/CD, because unfortunately live demo is impossible for today. But also you can see the templates repo where you may find all the reference how the CI/CD process should look like. And last but not least, it was a pleasure for me to speak around you. So here is my LinkedIn and my Medium, where I write some blog posts. So please feel free to contact me and pin me up. So thank you very much for your time, and see you then.